To order, please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance that'll be led by Alderman Payne.
Heavenly Father, we want to take this time to thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for your love and your mercy, Lord. Lord, I pray that we would represent you in everything that we say and think and do, Lord. Lord, let your light shine through us so that we can show others. And Lord, as we start this meeting, we pray that you would give us your blessings and give us wisdom. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda this evening is the approval of minutes for the June 19, 2018 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 19th, 2018 with any additions, deletions, or corrections. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is an agreement with PowerTel Memphis for the Brookhaven Water Tower. Mr. Nick Manley.
Mayor Moore, this is an agreement to use with a cell phone company or cell tower company to use the Brookhaven Water Tower. At Brookhaven, we've made a couple of changes to the agreement which PowerTel has agreed to. It'll allow for an option the first 2 years. They'll pay us an option to use the space in the event that they do utilize the space and enter into the lease. It'll be $2,000 a month. They've talked to Ray Humphrey. Ray has signed off on everything, looked at it as far as making sure everything's okay in that area with their proposed plans and location. They've agreed to, like I said, they agreed to our changes and revisions. They've signed the lease already as well. But tonight, bring it for authorization for the board for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the lease agreement between the City of Southaven and PowerTel for the Brookhaven Water Tower.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for ad valorem tax exemption for Fiskars Incorporated.
This resolution will allow for a personal property tax exemption for Fiskars in the amount of $660,000. It has been approved by DeSoto County already, and also recommended by the DeSoto Economic Council. So tonight, I just need authorization for the mayor to sign the resolution so it can be presented to the Mississippi Department of Revenue for tax exemption for Fiskars for the personal property. It's only for 5 years too, it's not for 10 years.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for budget amendment. Mr. Chris Wilson.
Mayor and Board, this is a utility fund budget amendment for $943,000. Taking it from the cash reserve balance forward and spending it in those capital improvement projects as listed.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for filing liens.
This resolution will just allow for liens to be filed for those condemned properties that will then be later converted to assessments. The reason we do this is for those people purchasing or buying or selling property, there will be something that changes the clerk's office, so that way the assessment hits in January or February of next year, they'll be aware of it. So tonight, just the authorization for the resolution for the filing of liens for those condemned properties and the amount attached as Exhibit A.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the mentioned properties that would like to speak? Hearing or seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for final tax exemptions for Henry Shine.
If this resolution or this tax exemption was previously approved by the board in January or February, it has since been approved by the Mississippi Department of Revenue. So tonight, we just need to do a final resolution authorizing or certifying the tax exemption and authorizing that to be sent to the Department of
I will
Revenue. This
make-
is for personal and real property.
Absolutely fine. I will make that motion for final resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries as well. All right, next on the agenda is a resolution to claim private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution granting authority to clean private property as presented on this date. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in the properties that would like to speak? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is normally our planning agenda. We do not have anything on the planning agenda this evening, so I'll move into my report, mayor's report. Got several things to update, a couple of things we're going to request action on. Just an update for everyone. We know that the tennis pro shop that's been under construction at our tennis center just opened this past weekend. First small term we had there, we made $1,600 in concession sales. So for one weekend, that's that was impressive. We're very pleased with that. If you haven't been there yet, please go check it out. It's at the tennis center, at Freeman Boulevard or Freeman Lane. But it's the old renovated metal building that used to be there. It's been converted to a pro shop. Has dressing rooms, showers, locker rooms. Has an office for our director, Michael Johnson. Has a pro shop where you can buy tennis items, rackets, whatever you need. Then we have the concession area that ties into the outdoor kitchen area. Has an enormous amount of outdoor seating that's covered out of the sunshine. So we think it's going to be a big hit for our citizens and our visitors. But please go check that out if you haven't seen it yet. A few other things, budget meetings. As you know, all of our department heads have submitted their budget requests for FY19. What we'll do this year is similar to what we did last year. We'll schedule a special meeting to come before the board, give all the department heads an opportunity to elaborate on what their priorities are, what they feel like they need in this next budget. Before they do that, I want to meet with them and hear from them as well. I want to make sure we're all on the same page on what our goals are. So I'm going to start those meetings. Christy has scheduled those starting actually tomorrow, not tomorrow, but Thursday. So I plan to be done with all those by the end of next week. And then after that's done, we will go ahead and start scheduling a budget workshop that will be a public meeting in the very near future. An issue that everyone needs to know about is recycling issue. We don't have all the answers yet, but just want y'all to be updated on what's going on. There's been a global change with recycling. As y'all know, we've been recycling paper as long as we've had a recycling program. The demand for the paper products, I believe China was our main place we exported that to. They have now, the demand has changed. So from a global perspective, there's not as great a demand for paper products, so that's going to affect us in Southaven, Mississippi too. So right now, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens from a global economic standpoint. So we've not done anything differently But eventually, we're gonna have to make the decision if we're gonna recycle paper, because the bottom line is there's nowhere to take it. So when Waste Connections and all the contractors pick the paper up, there's no final destination now, whereas there was in the past. We don't want to be drastic and change that for our citizens yet, so we're doing nothing yet. Everything will go as planned, but just want you to be updated that in the very near future, we may be making or requesting some changes to the board on how we handle our recycling program as far as paper. It's not going to affect the plastic at this point. We're just aware that it is a paper issue. I'll keep you more up to date as we know more. Y'all know about the project that may be the longest pending project that we have, the multi-use trail connecting Central Park and Snowden Grove. If I've spoken about that once, I've spoken about it 100 times. People literally meet me in the community and they're like, hey man, what's up with that multi-use trail? Are you dreaming, is that ever going to really happen? I'm here to tell you that it is going to happen. It's taken 7 years to get this done. There have been many hoops that we've had to go through, been many obstacles, but that is going to happen. So tonight, I'm asking you for approval to hire Civil Link as the construction engineering consultant of that project. So if someone will make a motion, I would appreciate that.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? And again, just detail, this is a 10-foot multi-use trail that will go south from the Central Park exit on Tullahoma. It'll go south on Tullahoma to Central Parkway, come by the schools there at DeSoto Central. It'll go east to Getwell. It'll go back north to Snowden Grove Park. So we hope to see this be, something else that makes our city more pedestrian friendly. We'd also love, since it's connecting the two parks, we think it'd be great to see, runs there on the weekend. It'd be fun where you can end the run at Snowden Park or vice versa. So we're very excited about that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and then another issue, as we face every year, fireworks in the city. Just reminding everyone, fireworks are not, it's not lawful to shoot fireworks in the city of Southaven. So I know that everyone seated up here will be receiving both calls, emails, and contacts on social media, just as I do. It wouldn't be July 4th without these messages. So we do expect to get them tomorrow. I just want to take a minute to update everyone, remind everyone that it is illegal to shoot fireworks in the city of Southaven. We're not trying to, put a downer on celebrating our country's independence. I think most of us can appreciate some value in fireworks, but we have to be conscious of some more severe issues. Fireworks are extremely dangerous. They create an enormous amount of property damage within the city. There's an extreme risk of bodily injury. Not to mention the fact that it's very disrespectful or uncourteous to those that are disturbed by the noise and the explosions of fireworks. A lot of people do not like them. Many pets are disturbed. So we're just asking everyone in the city to please remember that it is illegal to shoot fireworks in the city. We're asking you to be courteous of your neighbors, and we hope everyone has a happy 4th of July. Last thing that we need some board action on, you've been updated in the past about the Pinehurst Lake decision. Earlier this year, there was an emergency decision made to close College Road just south of the Pinehurst Lake because it was in immediate failure or having a levee break and a levee failure, which it did a few days after that. So that what has happened since then is the lake has drained. It's become a nuisance now. The water levels are extremely low, so a decision has got to be made to repair the levee. The problem there is when Pinehurst subdivision was developed, it was not in the city of Southaven many years ago. There's not an active association there that's financially viable, that can has the financial wherewithal, to repair the levee. So what we've got is a situation there where the homeowners are looking for help. I mean, Nick has done a lot of research on this. We have options. One of the options that was presented to you in the past was that we would go in with public funds and repair the levee, and then we would go back and ask the 12 property owners that are on the lake to form an association where the city could come back and levy an assessment. The cost to do this is about $40,000 to repair this levee. Obviously, it would take many, many years for a reasonable assessment for us to recoup the money. That is an option. So I just want to update you on that. As I've thought about this and listened to Nick and all the other facts of the issue, I don't find this issue to be much unlike many other drainage problems that we've done. There's many times that we will do a drainage repair because it has a benefit to more than one citizen. And this is the same situation there. It becomes a public issue because of the road there. If someone had a subdivision and they have a levee failure and there's no, unsafety to that, like the levee fails and it floods a pasture or something like that, I wouldn't suggest that we ever get involved in that. It's a private property issue. To me, this one is much different. It is a public issue because we have a roadway that's right there south of the levee. So my recommendation, rather than going through and taking many years and waiting on this association to find a way, for us to levy assessments back to them, I think that my recommendation is that we spend $40,000 out of our drainage improvement fund, and that we repair the levee. With that, and we'll rely on our city attorney to draw up a temporary easement. It would be a temporary easement. We do not take over ownership of the levee. We make it very clear in the temporary easement that we're doing this for public safety, to protect our road. We go in, spend the $40,000. I do not recommend that we go back and try to recoup that money over 20, 30 years or however long it would take for that repair. Again, the logic behind that is this is not, to me, it's not any different than all the many other drainage repairs that we've done that benefited multiple people, had a public benefit. We didn't go back and assess them. So to me, I don't think it makes sense that you go back and assess the 12 property owners of Pinehurst as well, because it is a city, it's a public issue. That's my recommendation to you. Again, there's two options. We can take the other option and continue on trying to levy the assessments if that's the route that the board chooses to go. But I'd like to hear from all of you tonight on which direction you want to go. If you want to go ahead and just have us repair it without an assessment, that's something that that you can vote on tonight, and we can move forward, get the temporary easement, we go ahead and resolve the issue. So I'd like to open the floor for discussion about that.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you in the fact that because of College Road, that it's a public issue. But that being said, I do have a problem because it's a private lake, is it not? The 12 homeowners
It is a private
have
lake.
exclusive rights to this lake.
Well, that's a good question. It is a private lake, but it is the main drainage basin for all of Pinehurst. So it is, in some way, it is part of a public drainage system as well. All the drainage throughout Pinehurst does drain into that lake, so it does serve a public benefit as well. But to answer your question.
Most lakes are the same way though, right? I mean, Greenbrook Lake, you have is a drainage basin for other creeks around there.
Sure, I'm just pointing out the fact that there is some public benefit to the lake. And I'm just making a recommendation. I really, if the board feels like that it should be an assessment, then we can go that route. We just need direction on which way you want to go.
So they don't have any kind of homeowner, not a homeowners association, but some sort of lake owners association?
That's something that they would form. They need to form that. Nick,
Well,
is that correct?
we would just assess, basically, you're not repairing the lake, you're repairing the levee. And the levee would hold the water, but the lake is not, we're not doing anything to the lake. The lakes, they'd have to do all the lake themselves. The only thing you're repairing is the levee, just because College Road is underneath that levee. So you're not doing anything to the lake other than just repairing that levee, which I guess holds the water. So my point being, there is an incidental benefit for the lake, but that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it from the standpoint of protecting College Road, because you had to close it for 3 or 4 days in February, I think, because of that issue.
Right,
So-
and I agree. I totally agree on that.
What's gonna happen in 20 years though, when it needs repair again?
I guess the question is, are we gonna continue to maintain the levee?
No, the
No.
temporary easement would state that the city would have no further obligations or maintenance requirements upon the completion of the project as approved by the city. So there would be no further maintenance obligation. But I think in talking with Civil Link, they're doing a different type of design for this. So it's I think the other spillway or dam, if you will, was a different type of design. that one breeze, I think there'll be a different one that won't really.
Has a longer lifespan.
Longer lifespan. So.
And the other issue to Raymond's, Alderman Flores' question is, and this is why, like, when we initially talked about this issue, I felt the same way. I felt like it's a private lake, it should be their responsibility. But ultimately, we have to get to the situation where we look at it from a practical and a realistic standpoint. Bottom line with this was that there was nobody there that was gonna step up and resolve this issue. And we got a road there. We couldn't wait for the levee to collapse. And so to Alderman Gallagher's point, if it's 20 years from now, we're in the same situation, the city's gonna come in and fix it. I mean, you can't let the road, it's too risky. You risk loss of life, you know, if you had a flood over that roadway. So I just think it's one of those things that you don't have someone that has the financial wherewithal to correct the problem, and we're at a public risk. So I think that's why I view this similar to the other drainage improvement projects that we've done. But I think we're in the same boat. I think the city's in the same boat. If the levee did get in that situation again, we're not gonna sit back and wait on people to argue over the money. We're gonna protect our road.
Are we making provisions in the news built levy to have like an emergency spillway to try to take some pressure?
It'll be designed, that's what Nick's referring to.
Okay.
Dan would, yeah, Civil Link would do the design to make it.
That takes it away from College Road, though.
As much as possible. You can't take all the risk
Yeah, I
away.
mean, it's there.
Is there anything we could do to, if we did this, maybe to ask them to form the homeowners association so that if and when it occurred again, there would be money available?
Well, we can ask, but as Nick mentioned, this is not the only issue with the lake. I mean, regardless of what we do with the levee, they still need to have some type of formal organization to do maintenance throughout the lake. But we can't really, there's no way to really force that. Or
Yeah, we're not, and just we're not doing anything with the lake. We're not touching the lake. The lake, that's strictly on them. Only thing we're doing is fixing the dam to where it won't collapse or breach in the future to the best that we can do, so College Road doesn't get flooded or,
Well, what's
collapse.
the negative of us just letting the lake drain out?
It's drained out. It's really
Right.
drained out.
It's still gonna end up filling back up again.
I mean, when the rain comes, it's still gonna come through there some, I guess. But we've already breached it already.
Right.
It's drained out. I mean, there's
On
trees,
College Road.
grass all in the lake now.
So we're back.
I'd like to discuss this more amongst ourselves if we can
Sure.
do that.
Well, that's the point, just to bring you up to date. We do, obviously, time is an issue because there's still a lot of legwork that's gonna have to be done if we go the assessment route. Then you're having to, get the 12 property owners to agree on how they're gonna do that. And again, and that's why I talked to you from a practical standpoint, just from my 5.5 years experience. I've been through this many times. When you try to force someone to do something that does not have the you're wasting your
I
time.
understand, and I'm not trying to argue with you about it at all. I totally agree that it is a public issue and we've got to fix it.
Yeah.
I guess my other concern is, have we not set precedent at some point in the city's history with other lakes?
Well, we own Central Park and Greenbrook. I mean, Greenbrook and Central Park are ones that we are responsible for, filing all the paperwork every year on already. But as far as another one like this, are you aware of that?
I'm not, but I think the issue is, and this, I guess, we're not doing anything to the lake. I think that's where the confusion. The lake's up to Pinehurst to fix. The only thing we're doing is fixing that levee so where it doesn't collapse. It's not the lake is what it is. We're not going anywhere near. We'll be near the lake doing the construction.
We're just protecting College Road.
That's the only thing we care about is College Road. The lake.
Well, we're also protecting the public safety as well.
Public safety and public interest on that, and the welfare of the
Public
public on that.
infrastructure.
Now, the lake itself, they'll have to go and they'll have to clean all that out, they'll have to get all that done themselves, and that's amongst the homeowners to figure that out. We can't do anything about that. We're not touching that part. The only thing we're doing is just wanting to get a temporary easement to fix a drainage issue that protects our road, and under our AG opinion, we got in 2013 or 14, we have that right to do. It's just the board wants to do it or not.
Do you need an motion for the temporary easement tonight?
You can do whatever you want to do tonight, but,
And can we table the discussion about who's gonna who's gonna pay for that bill?
Well, we'll need to make that decision. We don't have to do it tonight. I'm just saying that those decisions need to be made at the same time because
Okay.
if we're gonna do a temporary easement, then we don't need further board action. We'll go and we'll handle that just like we would any other drainage improvement project. But on the flip side, if we want to go the assessment route, there's a whole lot more legwork that's going to be done there.
Correct.
And also for Alderman Payne, I wanted to let you know this, that with all of the drainage improvement projects throughout the city, we still daily use the qualification process that was board approved in 2014. And so there's different scenarios that have to fit by state, to coincide with state law before we go in and do that. One of those is, does it have a public safety benefit? And this obviously would qualify for that because we have the public road right there. And that's what I mentioned earlier. If this situation where there's a cow pasture south of the levee, we're not doing anything. We're just letting it sit. That's a private property issue. But that's not what it is. If no one does anything, it doesn't take away public risk, because eventually the lake is going to fill up. It's going to become a risk to College Road again.
Do we know what exactly is causing the levee to be?
Just the lifespan. Levees don't have an indefinite lifespan. The way it was built back in, what was it, the late 80s?
Probably late 80s, early 90s, I think. Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it was undermining underneath the levee. And so I think, I'm just talking about Dan and them, but it was undermining underneath it. So when the water was creeping underneath the levee, which was going to make it end up bursting out and flooding the entire College Road. And if somebody was driving down the road at that time, my understanding is they probably would have been washed away.
So it was a poor design that will be rectified with the new design.
Well, it won't be 100% rectified. It'll be a better design now, more modern design with a better lifespan, but it won't be a permanent. It's not,
Well, there's
levees
nothing
have a
permanent.
lifespan.
That's right.
Yeah, but you've got a duty to protect the road, obviously.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. So, it's one of those things where we've got to do something for the road to be protected in the public interest of the road. So it's one of those things where you can make a finding on your minutes to allow for it to happen under this. You could do it as long as you had a temporary easement approval, and then you would not have to do any temporary easement to say after the project's complete, the city has no further obligations on maintaining it. But you would have just a situation where at least your road was protected for a while in the event of big rain or something else happens.
And my point along with that about the comparison to other projects we've done many other projects that did qualify for public funding in the drainage improvement qualification process, but we didn't go back and levy an assessment. We could have done that with some other issues too. I just believe the logic, if this is compared to the others, we didn't do that on the other one, so it doesn't make sense to me that since it's so defined, just because it's a lake, that we go back and we assess those homeowners. But again, I just want to hear from all of you. We don't have to make a decision tonight. Alderman Hoots.
My question is, okay, we've got a set figure around 40,000 now. If we go back to do the other stuff as far as exploring the legwork, like you put it, for the levy and, against people, put the levies against people, how much is that going to cost us to do that kind of stuff?
Well, it's not going to cost us anything. It's just a time issue then,
Okay.
because at that point, you're waiting on the property owners to all agree on that. And then, Nick, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, you have to do that. You have to do it. You have a public hearing. You would then do the improvement. You then have a public hearing on the assessment. You're looking at 3 to 4 months.
I'm just wondering, we got 40,000. If it's going to cost us $5,000, then we're down to 35,000.
Yeah.
We keep on throwing money into it to try to figure this out.
I don't think that's really it's just a time is really the issue.
Timing issue. It's one of those things where you've got different options on how you want to do it. I think you could do it the way of making those findings, because, like I said, when you had to shut down a road in February, there was definitely a public interest in this thing.
I think with it being a public safety issue, I think us waiting, we need to go ahead we should go ahead. This is not that big of a project that, for us to do. And like you said, we've done it before. I think putting it off is just, we're just pushing it down the road when we could go ahead and make a decision and get this done and off the plate and move on to the next thing. So, I would be in favor of voting on it tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to fix the levy.
I second that.
Okay.
Your motion will be to fix the levee because to protect College Road.
To protect College Road,
And the
that's correct.
welfare.
And public infrastructure.
With a temporary easement.
With a temporary easement, yes, sir.
Right, second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Flores and a second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any other discussion?
Especially if we've done it before, using the same criteria that we established in 14.
You have an AG opinion that allows for it.
We wait 5 months to protect that road, we're gonna be the same road right now.
And if we ever wanna widen that road, we're gonna have an issue.
Yeah, I think, I'm behind you 100%. I think the mayor's got a great idea.
Well, again, last comment for me, but to me, it comes down to we know ultimately what the result's gonna be.
Yep.
When you know that there's not a bona fide organization, there's no guarantee that they will even agree to do, I mean, or how long it would take to, you know, to do the assessment. You know, we've not done that with the others, and ultimately it's gonna fall on the city's lap. That's what I've experienced. Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Okay, that's all I have in the mayor's report. Again, just want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Be careful, don't shoot those fireworks in our city, please. Then we'll move on to citizens agenda. We're fortunate to have Mississippi House Representative Mark Baker with us tonight, and I would like to ask Representative Baker to come forward.
Thank you. Good evening. I met most of y'all before I started, before the meeting started tonight. I'm Mark Baker from Brandon, and I'm a board attorney in Brandon, been board attorney since 1992, and we had a meeting last night, and half of what y'all are talking about tonight, we talked about. And the lake issue, we've had to resolve before, and we had Cross Gates Lake for 20 years, no HOA, and had to figure out how to go in because it was silting in, and it was our drainage, used for drainage, and we had to come up with unique solutions. We actually decided that the dirt was valuable, and so we popped the cork on the levee, let it dry out, and then we excavated the dirt and used it in projects, and that was our way of making an excavation, making a lake deeper so we could use it for drainage and comply with the law. And I did enjoy Nick's throw-in as the motion was flying around and the language. I've done that before. I'm Mark Baker, I'm from Brandon. I'm an attorney. I've been practicing law for 30 years. As I mentioned, I represent the city of Brandon. I've represented the city of Brandon as board attorney since 1992. I represent the town of Puckett, so it's kind of two sides. I represented the town of Puckett since 2003. I've been in the state legislature since 2004. I'm finishing my 4th term next session, and 16 years is enough for me. I've enjoyed it, but I'm ready to move on to something else. And that's why I'm here to talk to you tonight. Because in 2019, I intend to run for Attorney General, run for the Republican nomination for Attorney General. And I'm going around the cities, and I'm kind of supervisors in cities, and I'm kind of talking about things that I know that you know, that are important that you know that need to be addressed from the level of the Attorney General. Because what does that matter to the city of Southaven? What does that matter to Aldermen and the mayor in your daily walk? Well, we've heard about it several times tonight because we've heard about AG opinions, and we've heard about how important they are to a city. We know that the interaction with the Attorney General's office with regard to getting opinions for a proactive city, trying to find solutions within the law, is very important. So I think it's important that you have somebody in this office that when an opinion comes across the desk that is seeking something from a municipality to find a solution to a problem that we all know exists, that you have an Attorney General that kind of knows how to handle that and how to deal with that. But more importantly, I think that one of the issues that municipalities are facing, in particular local governments are facing, is that without you knowing it, without you participating in it, things that are happening in the courts are affecting municipalities. I'm going to give you 2 examples, one on the civil side and one on the criminal side. And the civil side goes like this, and if you followed the Supreme Court opinions lately with regard to the Tort Claim Act, you'll notice that the court is going in a direction that could find itself very costly to governmental entities. They are redefining the discretionary and the ministerial function test with regard to liability of municipalities. They are redefining that in such a way as there was an opinion that came down just this week talking about drainage and opening the door for liabilities for cities with regard to drainage issues. It's a tragic case. I don't want to go through the facts, but having said that, it used to be that if the duty wasn't in the statute, the duty didn't exist. Not exactly 100%, but that was kind of the rule of thumb. Why does that matter to Southaven. Well, you're a member of the MML, you're a member of the liability plan, you participate, you know that's not insurance per se, it's a group situation, and you know that your costs are affected thereby. One of the things that I think is important is that the next Attorney General needs to understand the impact of these types of cases on municipalities and local governments and intervene in those lawsuits to ensure that when these public policy decisions are being made by the courts with regard to municipalities, that you're not even a party to the lawsuit, ultimately it will have an effect on the city of Southaven and every other city in the state. And so that's the civil side. The criminal side is even a little more concerning from the standpoint of obligations on municipalities, local governmental entities. And I want to talk in particular about one area of issue, and that is your city court system, okay? Well, Southaven's minding its own business, and two cities in particular, the city of Moss Point and the city of Jackson, entered into consent decrees. Those consent decrees have affected your municipal court system, and you weren't even a part of those lawsuits. And they basically reset all of the matters with regard to sentencing, with regard to bail, with regard to bond, all of the things that the city court system does. And so now most city courts throughout the state, and I think you'll begin to see this as you go through your budget process, most city courts around the state are starting to scratch their head and look at the police departments in the court system and go, what's going on? And I can tell you what's going on. Most misdemeanor offenses are not required under these consent decrees to post any type of bond to return back to court. And so now you're having to issue, so now your defendants are not coming to court for the various and sundry misdemeanors that they've been charged with. And so now you've got to go find them. But to go find them, you have to serve them, and then you have to bring them back, and then you have to have more hearings about why you weren't here and why you didn't do this and why this didn't happen. And the whole time, your city court system is beginning to back up. Those were two consent decrees where the Attorney General's office did not intervene and was not involved. Those cases should not have been settled. Why does that affect the city of Southaven? Well, you know why. Because about 8-9 months ago, NML said, now, you weren't a party to the lawsuit, but now we're your insurance, and we want to make sure that we're kind of in compliance. And so here's some proposed regs and policies and procedures that your court should start to follow. Although you weren't a defendant to it, it'd be a good idea. Talk to your judge, talk to your prosecutors, and they can tell you that, got that call. And so if they haven't revamped the system is being revamped as we speak. And it's going to be costly, and it's going to cause problems. So for me, knowing municipal government as I do, for me, knowing the effect that these cases are having on municipal government, I think it's incumbent that our next Attorney General understand this and intervene in those types of lawsuits. On a personal note, my 16 years of the legislature has been a great time for me. I've enjoyed it, been able to do a lot of things for a lot of cities. Southaven is an example of what cities aspire to be and to do. I was very proud to be able to stand up for the city of Southaven this last session when the question of the 2% tax came up for Snowden Grove. And I was proud to be able to speak on behalf of that and to help get that passed. I thought it was absolutely incredible that that debate even occurred. The fact that your citizens had voted twice, right? Twice, overwhelmingly. Brandon has a 2% tax, 75%. It's funding an amphitheater. Southaven has, and Parks and Recreation, things like this. And so it was incredible to me that occurred. I think that as in the Office of Attorney General, that I'll bring to that office, to the extent possible and practical as it relates back to the legislature, the ability to kind of just have some real world sense about what's going on and try to help in that regard. But I thank you for your time. I've handed out some bios and stuff, and I know it's the day before the 4th of July, but I'm not too concerned that I went too long because y'all got an executive session anyway. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. My cell phone's on my card for a reason. If you ever need me, or if I can ever help you, I've got one more session left, and I'm glad to intervene and help. I think that we're settled though on this end, but keep bringing the good projects, keep trying to bring the good ideas to the legislature. And if I have any ideas for me, I'm glad to answer, talk to you about those at your convenience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I want to publicly thank you again for your support of the City of Southaven, the comments that you made on the House floor, not just this year, but last year as well and in the past. Representative Baker has been a huge advocate for the City of Southaven, and we appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on our citizens' agenda? Okay, seeing or hearing no one, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is the personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the personnel documents presented on the state.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update.
Just have one quick item that came up this afternoon. Southaven Police Department has been presented an opportunity to participate with the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and let them do the task, form our task force, and let one of our officers work with the DEA. DEA will reimburse the city $18,000 for that officer, and it allow also to probably try to take more cases federal in drug type cases, and with the goal being eventually, I think the DEA may be looking at maybe trying to put a satellite office in the Southaven area, and this may help that process as well. But tonight, just the authorization to allow Chief Pearl to sign this agreement with the DEA.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Yes, correct.
Help fight that opioid crisis.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next on the agenda is our claims docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the claims docket in the amount of $2,535,799.63, including demand checks.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is to determine the need for executive session.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Brooks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is police litigation, claims against city infrastructure, economic development, and personnel in the police department. Now, is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.